things happen and things change, and you meet people, and then you kind of understand things a bit better, and then you're like, oh, okay, well,
Yeah.
all right then.
Yeah,
And
that's
then
yeah.
boom, you get the big hit in the face.
Yeah, yeah, right. I mean, same thing with me. I always knew something was funny. I always knew I was a little different. I always, there's those things. I've met some people that were born awakened. Not many though, just a few. Most have it happen. I don't know. Mine happened in shit. I don't know. Let's see. I'm 40. I was about 35, 34 when mine happened, probably. But I mean, I always knew that I was a little bit off, and the world was a little bit off, but I couldn't put my finger on it. And family members always knew that I was a little off too. Not they couldn't put their finger on it. And I think that that's a lot of our story. Is
I think
that's
that's a good word for it. Something is off.
yeah, something is not right in well, in your case in Canada, in my case the United States, not Denmark. Uh, yeah, exactly. So, I mean, I just kind of saw things from a different lens. I had more sensitivity to situations. It seemed like people around me were more callous about shit, and I don't know, and I always had this very loving attitude towards people, yet frustrated, like I didn't belong. And, then once I started having those contacts with the Pleiadians, then it blew my chakras and blew my mind completely wide open for a while. Yeah, so it was yeah, does your I mean without getting into too much detail, does your family know that you're, do what you do? I mean or
Yeah.
yeah, they do. Okay, yeah, mine too. Were they receptive to it at the beginning?
Uh,
Yeah. Yeah,
sort
yeah.
of, sort of not.
Yeah, I know. See, I made the big mistake you probably didn't make. I made the big ass mistake of trying to convince everybody that, man, don't you see that? I'm seeing into other dimensions. My pineal gland's blown wide open, and I'm trying to, tell people, hey, look at this, look at that. You see this? You see that? Yeah, no, no, they fucking did, man. Yeah, but yeah, what a great song to start off with. "Groove Is in the Heart" by D Light. I was in high school when that thing was a hit, man. I'd come home every day to see MTV, and that song was on for like 6 months straight, man. That chick was cool, the lead singer. I don't know who she was, but yeah, man, I totally dug her as a high school student. So let's get into this real quick. The advice column. What is it exactly that you? Okay, what kind of advice could a person write in to ask you for? Certainly not algebra or trigonometry, I would think, right? Or maybe you could do that.
No. Just personal advice, what
Yeah.
should I do about this situation?
Mm-hmm.
That kind of thing. More about relationships
Mm-hmm.
with, people in your life, family,
Okay.
loved ones.
Well, yeah, that's a big deal too, especially like in our community. I mean, yeah, that's a real big deal, especially for the time and the place that's going on right now with shifts going on, the collective shift going on. Yeah, it's really a big deal that that service is offered. And so people can just, what we're going to do, here's what we're going to do, people. We're going to create a page. We're going to create a page called Rose Knows. It's going to be an advice column. You can message in, you can send in a message to the page, or you can, if you feel okay with everybody knowing your business, you could probably write your question underneath one of our posts. But however you want to do it, that's the way you want to work it. That's the way you want to work it. If you want to do it privately, do it privately. But yeah, she's been great. I know she's a little sounds a little camera shy, maybe, or a little audio shy. No, she's got a great voice, and man, she's helped me tremendously. I've talked to a lot of you about her, just referring to her as my Stareseed Counselor in a generic name. But I mean, it's been a long haul, and maybe one day I'll release all the transcripts of our conversations because they're backlogged. And so, well, of course, with her permission too, there's going to be some things that are going to have to be redacted from it, but that'll be down the road. Um, the one thing that I was fascinated by when you and I were talking in private one time, though, was about, you know, I always probably figured this, but I never thought it. You were speaking about the heart. You're like, tell me the heart thing. It's definitely not an emotion. It is a what?
Your heart is like a tuning fork. It's like your spiritual guide. It connects you to source, and the higher realms. And you're supposed to use it,
Yes.
not as an emotional center, but as like an intelligence.
Ah, okay. I was waiting. Okay. Right. And it's a energy, you say, also?
Yeah, it's an energetic center. It's one of your chakras.
Okay.
So it's not exactly what people think. They think that that's your emotional center,
Mm-hmm.
and that if you're all heart based, that you're kind of like a mushy softy.
Mm-hmm.
Instead of realizing if you're heart based, you're actually you've stepped into your power of knowing and of understanding or comprehension of the other realms, and then how to like use that as kind of like your guide, because you'll get like what I call pings.
Okay.
And someone will ping your heart, like something will ping your heart, and you'll be like, oh, that feels like that's where I need to go, is over here. Someone just said someone's name, and I'm like, I need to go talk to them.
Okay.
Or, you just have this sort of feeling when someone says something, and you're like, oh, okay. That feeling makes me go, I need to investigate what I was just talking about with someone more.
Fascinating. Wow. Yeah, so I always had trouble tying that, when they talk about going through your heart, run it through your heart, run it through your heart. Well, I thought, man, they're coming at it from like, okay, they're thinking that your heart is an emotional thing, and I'm thinking, I don't know if that's such a good idea to always run it through your emotions. So really, you just described it pretty well for me. That I think I understand now. You know what I mean? Because my trouble was always, okay, run it through your heart, run it through your heart, but your heart is emotional. But that's really not the case. That's just kind of you were also mentioning sometime about, it triggers, like their emotions can trigger the heart, like love, right? But yeah, it's your heart center. It's your kind of unemotional heart, I guess you would say. It's not a situation where you're running it through a place where you're just caught up in emotion and stuff like that.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's when you want to run something through your heart, it's like it's not okay. They say that whole thing, about the connecting the head to the heart thing,
Yeah.
right? It, it's getting out of your head and out of your mind, and that's what they mean by run it through your heart. They're like, get out of your head
Right.
and feel into what that feels like. Does that feel like a yes, or does that feel like a no? Does that feel like a move forward, or does that feel like a pause or a stop, right?
Right.
So, or a retreat, right?
Right.
So that's what they mean when they say run it through your heart. It's not actually like check your emotional center. It's if you want to check your emotions, that's great. That's when you run it through your head to check your emotions.
Yeah, man. I'm glad to have you break it down like that, because my theory was, I always tell people what I do is, okay, this is my generic way to do it. I run a problem, run it through my heart first, run it up to my head, then run it back down to my heart. So I check with my heart, check with my head, and then make the heart make the final decision. But that's that sounds like something lame. That sounds like something very lame that Rockin' Larry Locken would come up with, like one of his tired, played out cliches. But no, that's beautiful. It's a beautiful description. In fact, I'll tell you, Rose, it was so beautiful that I actually, God damn it, I'm gonna have to ask you afterward. I forgot everything that you said about it. No, yeah, I mean, I know, and specifically, the heart is your heart center. But it's not an emotional place where you're going to get bogged down by crap, right? I mean, that's what they mean by your heart center, your chakra. You're not having all that noise and minutia, like your worries and your relationship issues. You're not having that bogged down in a spot where you're trying to run something through. Run it through your heart.
Well,
Yeah.
yeah. Sometimes though, your emotions will overtake you, and then
Yeah.
you can't kind of feel in your heart chakra anymore because you're overly emotional.
Yeah.
So that's when you have to that's when you kind of go, okay, let's run it through my head, and let's go through my head to see, like, okay, what is let's get some logic happening here. Let's try logic for a while.
Mm-hmm.
And then that can usually take your emotions, put it in the back seat so that you can, kind of think clearly and feel like the truth of things instead of just the fear of things.
Yeah, do you have any advice? I'm just thinking off the top of my head, like what would you say if somebody asked you, okay, that sounds great and I want to do that, but how do I get into a space where I can fully embody that? I mean, would you recommend what meditation, whatever works for them? I mean, what would you
So
recommend?
you're right, meditation, and I always tell people to sit in love. So think of one of the things that you love the most, and a lot of people have a pet.
Right.
They love their cat or their dog.
Yes.
And then you sit in feeling how much you love that. And you sit in that emotion of love and you let it build.
Right,
and you just
okay.
sit in it and let it build.
Okay.
And then your emotions turn into this like juicy, warm, fuzzy place instead of this like place where you're, all in chaos and you're just a mess. So you can switch your emotional state just by doing that. Just sit in love. Think of the things, the people, that you love. Even if you don't have a pet, if you've got like a best friend, or maybe there's a favorite place you like in nature.
Yeah.
Favorite places in nature really help. They sort of ground you. Even if you can't be there, you can just imagine being there and how much you love being there and the energies. Like, you can get really, like, if you have a good imagination and if you can picture yourself there, like there's so many things. You can use all your senses. It's like, what does it sound like right now?
Okay.
What does it smell like? Or like, what am I seeing? Am I seeing people, or is this the middle of the forest and there's maybe an animal or a bunch of flowers? Right? What are you seeing? What are you smelling? What are you feeling? How does the air feel? Is it warm? Is it cool? Right? You can really put yourself in that space and really concentrate on being there, and then all of a sudden it's like you're there.
Yeah,
and then you've taken your brain and your emotions and made them go into a back seat, right?
Beautiful. Yeah.
Now you're sitting in a different state completely.
Right. I'm going to bring this up on air because this is probably nothing I've ever discussed with you, but you just mentioned like thinking about a pet or somebody that you loved. I'm going to have to do the nature thing because, look, when I sit and I try to think about my kids, or I think about my dog that passed away, or I think about even if he was here, I'm so sad already that someday they're not going to be around me, that I'm sad the whole time waiting. Even though they're there, I can't sit there and enjoy them being there because I know that it's going to end one day, and I'm just, so that's another mental break. Probably that's one thing I've never covered with you, and that's rough. So I like your idea of thinking about a nature or a place I'd like to go or be. It's that's probably the way I'm gonna have to do it because I have a problem thinking about people I love like that because of my guilt and my shame for.
Well, because you're letting yourself think of the future and not staying in the present.
Future tripping, yeah, I know, terribly bad. I did it all through my kid's childhood. I did it all while my dog was alive. I've done it my whole life, and yeah, it's just one of them things that probably ties into grounding that root chakra. I don't know, but yeah, I'll have to do the nature thing. I don't think I have a hard time, really hard time. I told my son earlier. I told him I have a real hard time looking at those videos of you guys when you were younger that I posted, and I can't do it anymore because you're gone, and I just can't. Oh man, it's rough. It's really fucking rough to deal with that kind of shit, man. But that's just something that has to come with it, I guess. Thinking about, so kind of if you're thinking about a special place you'd like to go, it sounds almost like meditative astral traveling in a way, kind of. You're picturing being in that place, but and for me, that place is Canada. Yeah. So I think a lot about things like that. So. Future tripping. That's when we're gonna have to discuss in private, because I don't know. I really don't know how, I don't know if you have any ideas if that's above your level or what, but
Well,
I
you
don't
do
know.
have to stay in the moment. Like, that
Yeah.
is the only way. You can't think about what might not happen. You really have to stay in the moment.
Oh,
And
yeah.
in that moment, your cat is right there on your chest.
Yes.
And that's a wonderful, amazing feeling, right?
Yeah, they're gone too. Yeah, except for one of them. Yeah, I know. It's yeah, and I think back and I wish I could get to a state someday though where I could look back on those memories and be like, yeah, that was nice. They were there when they were there. But now it's like, fuck, man. Wow, it's just really I get emotional when I think about it because there, it's just like now I'm alone and um that's fine, but it's just wish I would
It's
have.
okay to get emotional.
Yeah,
Just let yourself move through that emotion.
yeah, yeah. Of course. Yeah, right. You mean people always say this too, like about that. They say that it's a good idea to try to embrace it. To like that, I mean, that feeling that I'm having, that angst and stuff, that I need to
Uh-huh.
like embrace it. I don't. I mean, I don't. I know. I get what they mean, I guess, but man, it's rough to sit there and just not want to just do something to, I don't know, take your mind away from it. But I've been told that people say, well, sit in it, and and it's rough. It's really rough.
It is rough. It actually is very rough to sit in it.
Mm-hmm.
But if you do sit with it or sit in it, as they say, you get to the point where you kind of move through it. You don't get stuck there.
So do you
And you
think?
don't have to sit in it. But you can move through that. You can get to this point where you're in it and then all of a sudden it just starts to release or it starts to ease and you
Mm-hmm.
start to move through.
Yeah, yeah. I wonder how many other people out there haven't or have had that kind of an issue before where they. I've never heard of anybody mention that before that they had that. I'm not trying to say I'm unique, but that they have trouble thinking about things like that because of some guilt or they've all or a future trip. And see, I could say it's about guilt. A lot of it is, but then again, man, I've always felt that way though. It's weird. Even before I was so-called awakened, you know what I mean? I always felt that way though. And it's just,
Yeah.
yeah, it's just moving through it. You're right, and I wonder if I suppose it gets easier if you embrace it and do try to sit through it and move through it. I suppose eventually, like it gets easier. I would like to think, but I don't know that, and of course, the fear of the unknown is always there.
But when you embrace it, you start to feel the emotion. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
You like feel the emotion so you can move through it. And if you don't feel the emotion, then you're just kind of like avoiding the emotion.
Yes. Yes.
And then you're not moving through it and you're not dealing with it.
Yeah. No. Well, that's. Hey, girl. That's the name of the. Yeah. No. I know. I believe me. I could get a PhD in what you just said of doing that. Yeah. I know. Yeah. The avoiding it. Putting it off to the side. Oh no, I'll do something else to just forget about it for now. Yeah, I know, and
That's
yeah,
Yeah, and so that's why they say sit with it, because
mm,
then you allow yourself to experience the emotion, and then you can actually do something about it. You can move through it, you can accept it, embrace it, and go, okay, it's here. It's a motherfucker, but it's here. And you can just deal with it.
yeah, yeah, right. And it's just like with anything else too, like knowing it, right? Knowing it's only half the battle. Like getting full of that feeling and actually being there. Like you can know that you need to love yourself, right? But then actually being full of the feeling of it is a whole nother ball game. And so I guess
Yeah.
I guess it's just repetition of moving through it. You know what I mean? And yeah, yeah, no, I know, and I think that the advice you gave on the heart is really vital. Yeah, it's amazing that it's funny, something right, and then somebody will say something or somebody will explain it, and they'll tie it together for you. That's why I've had some great people on here like you that will be talking about things that I've always known and know, but then when they tie it together, it's like, yeah, okay, right, yeah, yeah, okay, I know that, but exactly. And I think that yeah, I think that it's very valuable. One of going off of that too, what I wanted to get in is I loved how you were talking to me about the spine. The spine. Talk to us what stores in your spine if you're not, and what if you're not doing a certain thing, what can happen? Yeah.
Well, you know those emotions you don't like sitting with
Yes.
and embracing? Well, if you don't deal with those,
Yeah.
you end up storing those emotions within your spinal column. And then go to have a massage or get your back cracked at the chiropractor.
Mm-hmm.
You have an extremely emotional moment and you're not sure why.
Wow. You mean like okay. So if you're getting your back popped really good or a massage, really, so it's a release now. Okay, if it's done right. I mean, if somebody's beating the hell out of your back, like I had one time by a guy that was a football player, with a massage. I mean, that wasn't exactly. It must have to be a really nice experience. You know what I mean? It can't be done. Yeah.
It depends. It really does.
Really?
Some people, they go and they just get, a major crack and then they lose it. They just lose it. And they're like, I don't know why I lost it, but I did. And then other people, it's just a nice gentle massage, not a big deal. They're kind of half asleep and then all of a sudden they just start bawling their brains out.
Really? Wow. You've ran across this before, I take it then, with people.
Oh yeah, definitely. I'll have clients come to me and they'll say, well, I broke down. I don't know why I broke down. And I'll be like, oh, what have you not been dealing with? What's the one thing that you've been ignoring for the longest?
Mm.
And then they'll tell me,
Right.
relationship with my parents or whatever. And okay, there you go.
Wow.
And then it triggers that release so that now they have to deal with the emotion.
Okay. What kind of well, when they get to that state where they're having to deal with emotion, like if they have a breakthrough like that and they have to deal with it, what do you mean? Does it so they didn't, so before, really, weren't aware that they had, I mean, they were aware, but what does it do? That release just brings it to the forefront for them? Is that what you're saying? I mean, it kind of puts them in that space where, hey, they don't have anywhere to go but deal with it, kind of? Is that what I'm hearing?
To a certain extent, but it makes you also release, like you start to release those emotions that you've been storing, that
Okay.
you've just not been dealing with.
Right.
You start to release them because
Okay.
you just start crying, or you get really, like some people get really mad.
Oh,
They're just
really?
so mad.
Oh, really?
The
Wow.
whole day they're just angry.
Really? Like pissed off, angry, or what? I mean, really?
Yeah, really mad. And they're just mad all day, and they'll be like, I don't know why I'm mad. I went for a massage, I came back, I'm fuming. I'm mad at everyone and everything. And I'll be like, so you went for a massage, hey?
Yeah, eh?
Oh, okay, well, I'll tell you what happened.
So I wonder, do you think the people that get mad, though, do you think that what they're doing is, do you think they're I wonder, because it would seem like if I was in that spot, do you think they're resenting, like internally they're resenting what they're going to have to deal with? Is that at all possible? You know what I mean? They're pissed off that, hey, now they got to deal with this, but they don't know why they're mad, but wonder if inside they're just kind of angry that now they're going to have to deal with this shit.
Well, I don't know, because it brings up whatever emotions you're not dealing with. If you're not dealing with anger comes up.
Right. Okay. Oh, okay. Gotcha. That ties it together. So, okay. So whatever it is, whatever kind of emotion it is that you're suppressing, right? So it all of a sudden puts it into the forefront. Now that's what you're having to deal with. Right. Right. But at the same time, but if they don't have anybody to advise them, they might not know what in the, excuse me, I promised I would stop trying to cuss on air, except for this time. So they don't know what the fuck they're dealing with, right? Is that what it is? So, like, if they didn't have somebody like you or even my lame ass to bounce it off of, they don't. they wouldn't know. So they would just walk around what perpetually with this feeling of okay, I got to deal with this. It's probably really intense that day they had it done, but so what does it do if they don't deal with it? Does it just keep going like a cycle again until they deal with it? I mean,
Well, to a certain extent, yes, but I mean, some of it will have been released. And so some people just go back to the chiropractor and cry their brains out until, they feel like they can deal with whatever it was. And other people, they just ignore it, and use the chiropractor as like a crutch or a way to deal with it.
Oh, okay. Now that makes a lot of sense. That makes a lot of sense. So okay. Hmm. You know, do you think that a lot of massage therapists or chiropractors, do you think they're aware? I mean, some must be like aware of what you're saying that that it does release, or do you think that they understand it to that degree, or I mean, because these are
Some of them
yeah.
definitely do because they'll
Okay.
say, yeah, something happened. I got a client crying on my table today.
Okay.
So some of them definitely do.
Okay, yeah, I figured so, but I'm just wondering if they understand it. Like, okay, it's a release that they're having. I'm sure some must, but the only reason I'm skeptical about them understanding it is because the medicals, the wonderful Western medical, field. It's it's not a lot of spirituality in it. So I'm wondering, a lot of them either probably they don't think about it. Some do know, like you said, but I don't know that a lot probably are aware that okay, this was this kind of a release. This was a trauma release. This was an anger release. This was a
Yeah, they might not know what kind of release it was, but they would just know that someone, had an emotional release.
right, yeah, exactly. And then the others might know, but they wouldn't care. But I wonder, you know what? Now that you're talking about it, I wonder if acupuncture has that sort of effect at all. Like the cracking or the massage. You know anything
Oh
about
yeah,
that?
all of it does.
Okay.
Any sort of body, what would you call it? Body therapy.
Mm-hmm.
Any sort of therapy like that, where someone's touching you, can actually release things for you. And sometimes it's not a fun release at all. And other times it's like, okay, well, that's the only way I seem to be able to do it. And people just keep going back.
Okay, so that out of sorts feeling you were talking about, because they had something released, they don't understand what it is. Would you say that? What do you mean? Does the intensity die off in about a day? Probably on average. I'm just, give me a ballpark figure, day. I mean, it's always going to be there if you don't deal with it. I get it, but
It really depends what it is.
oh,
Some
really?
people,
Okay.
they've like for like a week they're mad,
Oh, no shit,
you know,
huh? Wow.
or somebody's been like, I've been mad for like a whole month and I don't know why I'm mad.
Mm-hmm.
So
Mm-hmm.
it really depends on like the person and the issue.
Yeah, the person in the scenario. That's what I was thinking. So, okay,
Yeah.
so this ties into they're not dealing with those emotions, right? So this stuff is, man, and I hear what you're saying about the spine. Yeah, man. I mean, it seems like it binds in your discs and vertebrae, I guess. I mean, that's what I feel anyway from not dealing with a lot of this
Well,
stuff.
it can even go into your hips, right?
Oh, totally. Oh
So
boy.
yeah. So I've had clients who their whole it was everything they put in their hips,
Mm-hmm.
and so they they were doing some chiropractic, and then they were doing a lot of stretching to just get their hips started to seize and wouldn't move,
My.
and they were just getting that out. And as they were doing it, they were just crying, and they were getting upset. They
Right.
were just emotions all over the place, anger, you
Mm-hmm.
name it. And it lasted for them probably a good month
Oh,
or
wow.
more before it started to ease, where the stretching and everything had released enough of that stored emotion. And I don't even know if they at that point in time were able to pinpoint what that emotion was from either. It's not always easy to pinpoint that. It takes a while to figure that out.
Yeah, because I was wondering as you said that, I was thinking, man, sometimes it might be not just okay, so anger, trauma, whatever. Sometimes it might be a combination of that shit, right? So it might leave them all fucking confused, man. And
Yeah, there's many, what would you say? There's many reasons or emotions
mm,
or things that can get stored in there and why and how, right?
right,
It's a puzzle. And so as soon as something happens and it's almost like you actually are ready to release that emotion and that's why it came up. Or it's like your body's telling you, I can't store any more emotions. We have to deal with some of this. We got to do it now.
yeah. Yeah, and I think about all the years, I think about all the people that have had these scenarios happen to them, right? And they're, not only was there probably not any assistance or help for them, like you provide, but they don't even know what the hell's going on. They don't, they're left like stranded in the desert of the mind. They don't have any outlet to you have to knowing is half the battle, so you have to even know before going to somebody like you have to understand where it came from, or like, I mean, what triggered it. And if you don't know that you can get help, that's just, I don't know. I wish this kind of subject and these kind of things would be talked about more in mainstream health. you know um I just think as we move forward, I hope that one day we get to a point where that's possible, where there's, these alternative, they call it alternative healings and help, but it's really like basic. It sounds like to me it's pretty cut and dry what you're talking about. I mean, it makes so
Yeah.
much sense and it's so logical. The stress, our bodies and our souls, we're not just blood and bones and organs. I mean, we have an energy about us. We are energy, just like the heart, we are energy, you know.
Definitely.
Yeah, it's
And I do think that, like you touched on how you thought going forward, to this different type of way of thinking. I think this was like our original medicine.
Yeah, that's just
And
what.
that,
Yep, yeah, that's just what I was thinking.
yeah,
Yep.
and that this is how we dealt with things originally
Mhm.
until things changed.
Mhm.
And then people decided that they were just going to try other things
Yeah.
that, haven't seemed to work.
Yeah. How's that worked out for us as a society, as a Western society? That's worked out real well, hasn't it?
Yeah.
No, it's good. Yeah, it's, for a few. Yeah, it's got a few people wealthy, but I mean, as far as health and knowledge, I mean, there's so much out there, and all this stuff has been around. You're right. This is not. Somebody said it right. They call what's a lot of our community. They call us the New Age community. Well, not really. We're kind of the Old Age, because this is the way that, not just what you're saying, but a lot of this stuff talked about within people in these groups and stuff is stuff that was used in the beginning, right? Until,
Yeah, like
yeah.
old cultures and communities and yeah,
Yeah.
and like shaman medicine and tribal medicine and
Mm-hmm.
Chinese medicine and Ayurvedic medicine. I mean, it's all linked together. It's all been used before.
Yeah, and all of it, all of those things that you're talking about, the different cultures and their different medicines. I mean, what a great planet it would be if all of those had been integrated with each other, millennia ago, before. It just would have been a good, unfortunately, there were greedy people that wanted to take over and wanted to do things their way and wanted to make a profit off of it. And it's not just in modern times, it's been going on a while, and I think that's closed us off to a lot of herbs and a lot of plants that can help us. But then they want to chalk it up to it's just a bunch of voodoo or crap. They try to really marginalize it. The medical community does. Anything that's alternative like that, they really try to just, there's an undertone that it's, oh, I don't know, they make it sound like some shaman sitting there boiling some wigwam for you to cure a disease or some shit. You know what I mean? They want to simplify it like that. And
Yes,
yeah,
I think that's steered down a different path.
yeah, yeah. That's crazy. But I can see where it's would store in your spine and cause all your hips. Yeah, it explains a lot. All your joints, basically, your joints are. Yeah, those traumas and those not dealing with negative emotions sure can screw with your bones. I'll tell you. Yeah, but yeah, it's just it's really crazy though. I mean, I think honestly, and these are things that I hope that one day are provided like any other kind of medical care. You know what I mean? With outreach services, with whatever it takes. You have traveling nurses that go to the elderly. It would make sense to have maybe some holistic medicine teacher do that, or other kinds of alternatives as well. And all this stuff can be integrated together. I mean, there still is a need for a lot of, well, there's a big need, let's face it, for some Western medicines. I'm not so sure of the majority of them, but, if you're, I'll tell you this much. If I'm dying in pain when I'm older, like, like really dying in pain, yeah, I do want some morphine. You know what I mean? I want something that's gonna, but all that has a place. You know what I mean? It's not. It's not that anything necessarily needs to go away. It's just.
No, emergency medicine is very helpful.
Yeah, it is. It is, and you're talking. Are you when you say emergency medicine? Are you talking about like Are you talking about painkillers? Is that what you mean when you say that, or sort of?
Yep.
Okay, right.
That's basically what we have. Is we have emergency medical. That's basically what we have these days.
Yep. Oh boy, I'll tell
Yep.
you. Yeah, yeah. No, exactly. And the thing about it is too is most of that, a lot of that stuff is derived from a natural plant. I mean, opiates, which is what painkillers are made of, they are derived from the opiate plant, the poppy plant. Um, so a lot of this stuff is derived. I understand aspirin is also derived from tree bark, but I guess maybe the
Yep.
problem, yeah,
Like willow.
really, really, I didn't know that. Okay, I just knew the year that it was actually invented or came onto the market. It was 1899. Huh. Yeah, yeah, right, right. So, well, anything is. I mean, the coca leaves in Colombia and Peru, they grow. A lot of the tribal people down there would eat them to be able to breathe better at higher altitudes. Because it's kind of a
Yep.
stimulant, and the stimulant does that. Yeah, yeah. And there's a shaman that will take you and guide you in a safe way if you want to have a DMT or an ayahuasca journey. All of these plants are, they really are great. And yeah, so I mean, everything has to come from nature at some point. It's just a matter of how synthetic it gets and, how tapered with it gets. But yeah, no, I know that's kind of off subject, but yeah. So the spine, okay, the heart, the heart center is not a place that is full of emotion per se. It's an energy standpoint. It's a place to guide you from without having any emotions, say, bogging you down. Like it's not a place to. It's certainly not a place. Okay, it's what people stereotypically think of as the heart, though. It's not really. That would not be the place you would want to run an issue through because if you're caught up in a real hardcore emotion one way or the other, and you're thinking you need to run it through a spot where that's at, that can't be good. So, I think it's really great that you broke it down that way.
Well, we have heart intelligence. We have mind intelligence. We have body intelligence.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, our body experiences pain, which tells us something. So we have all this intelligence, and we just don't always listen to it or know how to decipher it.
Yeah. No. Well, exactly. Exactly. There's twofold. We don't listen to it, and then a lot of people don't know how to decipher it. I mean, you think about it. I would say to you that the majority, okay, probably the majority, I don't know by how much in the Western world, they don't have, they don't even have a clue what's going on, even though something is, because they just don't know what they don't know.
Yeah, we
And
don't always have the skills to navigate through it.
yeah, right. And then yeah, then you're left kind of at sea without in a leaky raft boat trying to travel across the ocean. Yeah. So yeah, that kind of makes me a little bit, that kind of hurts my feelings a little bit that goes on. That there's people that don't even know to comprehend what is going on with them, much less ask for help. So it really, people that would listen to this, people that are out there in the groups, they are fortunate in the fact that, okay, they have that one thing down. They probably know, when they're experiencing something like that, they probably realize in their innate, at least, what that they're having an issue and what it might be related to. And then, of course, then it's a matter of asking for help and finding the right help. Shit.
Oh yeah, that's another pickle people get into, is getting the wrong help.
No, you tell me. Yeah, no, really, the wrong help. Now, listen, we've talked about this, but yes or no, are you, how, advanced are you in Reiki?
I don't know what you.
Well, I mean,
Yeah, I don't know. I'm a teacher.
Okay, well then,
teach it.
well, that's what I was getting at. Yeah, no, that's more than I thought. Okay, well, you had told me that. So I asked somebody this and he said that I was wrong about it. Is Reiki? I swear, people would used to when I wasn't feeling good. They would say, "I'm going to send you some Reiki. I'm going to send you some Reiki." I mean, I had people by the dozens doing this, right, back in the day on here, and sometimes it would feel like it messed me up. Does it matter? I mean, what does it, if somebody, because he told me that it doesn't matter, because as long as somebody's focusing that attention to you and gives that to you, it doesn't matter. It should be good. You should be fine. Could there be a problem from your standpoint with it?
Well, if it truly is Reiki energy, then no.
Okay.
But is that person truly sending you that? Are they practicing in the way that they're channeling that energy?
Mm-hmm.
Or are they being a little lax with it and just, not doing their symbols or whatever it is?
No,
like,
sure,
what
yeah.
are they actually doing it? Like, you don't know how they're practicing, what their practice is like.
Mm-hmm.
So you gotta use that heart center to be like, yeah, I'll receive that, or no, I don't think I want to receive that, because your heart center will be like, pain, yes, and then if your guts sort of feel like a little upset, you're just like, I kind of feel a little sick to my stomach, then that's a big no.
Okay, yeah, I've had that. Okay.
Ignore the gut response too, right? That's a big no. Our guts usually give us all the no's.
Oh, totally, don't they? Mine has never been wrong if I really would have just totally like cleared my head and listened to it. Yeah, the Reiki thing, that's funny. You mentioned that, if they even sent it at all. Yeah, see, my thing is, if I don't know this, but if I had to guess, I would say most probably just said that to me. I mean, that's what I would guess. Okay, I'm going to send you some Reiki, and they didn't. Or maybe a couple tried to, and you're right, they weren't using their symbols, or they were missing something, or they weren't. I just feel like it shouldn't be something that's thrown around out there. If you know what you're doing, like you do, fine. Like this other gentleman I talked to, fine. But I mean, if you're not really working at it, don't tell somebody that you're going to do that, I guess. I mean, but then again, I mean, if you're, yeah, I don't know.
We all have to be careful who we allow in our energy.
So.
We just do. We have to learn. That is why getting your heart center working properly is so important, so that you can discern what's good for you and what isn't. Because, some people, they'll go and they'll see a practitioner and they'll come back wrecked. And I've had to clean up quite a few so-called practitioners' messes.
Oh, God.
And I've been like, good Lord, like, how long have you been walking around like this for, that kind of thing. Yeah, it's kind of scary and kind of sad that, that these people are going through this when they just wanted to get some help.
Yeah, I think the way to go about it, like for somebody like me, if you're not an expert, or you're not even really, I created a Reiki group, but that was just for some people to have. I'm not schooled in it, so I wouldn't tell somebody that. What I would tell somebody is, I'm going to focus and I'll send you some loving energy. You know what I mean? I'll put it, and that's fine, I think. If that's all you can do, that's all you can do. But yeah, Reiki is something that I think should be taken pretty seriously, and it can't just be, done willy-nilly.
You have to be attuned to it, and then you have to be doing it properly. And again, it's not really the Reiki practitioner's fault if they're not doing it right, because they're learning usually, right?
Right.
We learn all the time. But what the fault is that neither of you are discerning what is best in that moment. Is that best in that moment for you or for the practitioner? Maybe the practitioner is not a good day for them to be practicing because they're not having the best day.
Oh,
so
man.
maybe they should be taking that day off and not doing anything.
Well, Jesus Christ. Rose, I didn't know there were so many damn variables to it. I mean, wow. So, so even an expert, if they're having an off day, is what you're telling me. If they're having an off day, it might not be a good idea to say, okay, I'm sending you some Reiki. You mean so they
Yeah,
they
because they
yeah.
should be sending themselves Reiki and taking their own healing session at that point.
Okay, huh? I wonder. Have you ever had that experience where you just couldn't do it one day? You said, "Look, I can't. I'm going to have to bow out because something was going on in your life." Has that ever happened to you? Where you couldn't, you're like, I
Well,
just
to a
couldn't.
certain extent, yeah, to a certain extent. I mean, I didn't offer it in the first place, right?
Right. Okay. Gotcha. Okay. So yeah, duh. You weren't going out and trying to hustle. Hey, man, you need some Reiki. Right. If you're not in that mode or mood, you're not going to offer it to somebody you may be talking to you think needs it. Okay. All
No,
right.
and if I had a client booked, then I would either cancel or take the time to write myself, because you can clear and cleanse and get yourself, but you need time to do it. Get yourself in the right space of mind. You just need time to do it. As long as you take the time, then that's fine. Everything's fine. But if you don't take the time and you just willy-nilly go about it, then
Yeah, and you probably can't put right, and you probably can't put a time frame on like, oh, how long it's going to take you to get into that mode, right? I mean, you just got to do the work to get back into that kind of mode to be able to offer a good service.
Well, as long as you give yourself a good 15, 20 minutes, you should be able to clear and get yourself in a good space. And if you can't, then you either cancel or call another practitioner in to take over for you.
Okay, and then yeah.
You have to be energetically responsible.
You have to know when, okay, hey, you have to know when to pull out and let somebody come in, let some reinforcements come in, right? Yeah, okay. Well, that's where it's a good thing that probably most people that are as advanced in Reiki, like to your level, most people like that they're kind of out of that big ego frame where they're not just going to let their ego go ahead and let them do it anyway. You know what I mean? They know that, okay, man, today's not the day. I'm going to have to call somebody else in, and that's just going to be how it's going to roll, Whereas, you get egos involved, and who knows, somebody might just think they can do it, and yeah, give some not the best possible outcome or best healing that they can provide for the person. So yeah.
Yeah, some days aren't good days for people, and they got clients booked, and it's like, well, you're gonna have to either have a practice where you can take the time you need to set yourself right and clear yourself and cleanse yourself, or where you have someone who can take over.
Right, okay. So you really got to be in that clear frame of mind. You can't, if you're going through some crap in life, probably like a divorce, a problem with a family member, yeah, you might need to kind of step away from it for a while, I would think. Yeah, unless it depends. Some people can handle that. Some people could probably do that with all that stress going on in their life and not trip about it.
Yeah, it all depends on the practitioner and how practiced they are. Like, they don't have to be like a master or anything. They just have to understand their own energy and understand how to stay clear and stay clean so that they can be there for each client. That's it.
Okay. Wow. All right.
So you don't even need, you just need energetic ethics. Is basically it. You need to have energetic ethics, and you just need to, to really know yourself.
Man, I like that. Energetic. I've never heard that before. Energetic ethics. Did you just come up with that?
No, there was a time, like, I don't know, it was like 8 years ago or something,
Mm-hmm.
where a group of us practitioners were talking, and we were practitioners of all different types, right?
Mm-hmm.
And we were just talking about how there's no ethics in energetic ethics, basically, in energy workers. And so when you take some of your courses, they teach you some of that. But, a lot of people, they only take one course, or they just dabble in it or whatever. And then they
Mm-hmm.
go, okay, now I can teach
Mm-hmm.
craniosacral. And you're like, well, can you? Like, are you, like, how many hours did you put in? And stuff like that, and how good are you with your energetic ethics? I mean, you've come across many people who are energetically unethical. They read you without asking.
Yeah, yeah, oh, yeah, 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 yes, that has happened, Rose. Well, you're psychic. You must have known that somehow. Yeah, well, yes, I have. And I didn't think nothing of it till I asked you. I'm like, what do you make of that? Yeah, no, they. So I think what you told me basically, just to not go into real much, but that they should ask. So if somebody's going to do that to me, somebody should ask my permission first. Is that, or anybody? Let's just anybody at all. Like if I was going to sit there and
Yes.
call you, or call you up, hey, I know what you had for dinner. Start creeping you out and stuff, calling you all the time, and hey, man, what'd you and Gary do, or something? You know what I mean? Yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
yeah, So you really need to have somebody's permission before you go there, and if you've had something come that to you and you can't help it, ask the person first before you tell them, I guess. I don't know, but
Well,
yeah.
well, again, if something comes to you, right, you
Right.
can you can say that. You can say, something just came to me. I'm sorry. You're because that's when somebody's projecting something, right? And you can
Okay.
read anybody's projection. They're projecting something out. Doesn't matter that everybody has a certain amount of energy they project out, and you're
Mm-hmm.
allowed to read that. That's no big deal. It's they're putting it out there. But what you can't do is dive in and start reading their thoughts and all these other things.
Mm-hmm.
That's unethical, and it's almost like an energetic violation.
Mm-hmm.
So a lot of people can feel very violated and have trauma related to that. And
Yeah.
I've had to help someone deal with that before too.
Mm-hmm. It doesn't start with an L, does it? No, I'm kidding. Yeah. So like these people, though. Okay. So are you saying? Do you think for some people though that pick up on that, it's just like okay, they all it comes easy to them. It would be a violation to tell them about it, but they can't help but pick it up. Does that
Of
be
course they can help it. Of course they can. And and they're just lying to you if they say they can't help it.
okay? But if you're that intuitive, right? If you're that intuitive, what do you just make it a point to like block out trying to? Because probably for your own energy, it would be good too not to sit there and read everybody's goddamn thoughts. You know what I mean?
That's right. Exactly.
Okay.
So you have to figure out how to tune into someone and tune out.
Okay.
So actually this is something that I have taught a few people, is for empathic people, how to tune in and tune out.
Mm-hmm.
Because if you are always tuned in, you
Mm-hmm.
get a
Yeah. You get what? I think. Oh, you cut out. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, that was good. That was good. The stream. Okay, my stream cut short. I'm gonna just wrap this up by saying this. Okay, Rose and I are gonna start a column, and it is gonna be called Rose Knows. If you have any advice, newly awakened star seeds, light workers, if you've been in the game for a while, if you've got a problem with your family, this is the lady to ask. I'm telling you right now. I highly recommend her, and I mean, she's worth it. She's worth paying for, seriously. And she cut out on us because I don't know why, but I'm going to try to get her back on real quick. Real quick, I'm going to try to get her back on. Okay, okay, are you there? Oh, you're there. Thank
Mm-hmm.
goodness. Good, great. Okay, so where we were at was we were talking about we were talking about cutting that off because if you sit there and read everybody's mind, right? Go ahead. You had it. Technical
Oh,
difficulty.
you're going to get confused as to information and things that you're getting.
Right.
Number one.
Okay.
Number two, you need to learn how to tune in and tune out so that you can tune in and get the things you need to get,
Okay.
and then tune out so you're not getting bombarded with anything.
Oh fuck, man. That sounds like a It sounds like it takes some work if you're that intuitive. I'm just picturing somebody younger who might be that intuitive naturally, like you're talking about, and then they don't. I wonder if that causes some people to. I'm getting some thoughts, but I can't really formulate them. But if you were getting all this stuff right and you didn't understand that you're going to have to tune this stuff out, right? You didn't know that, and so you were just. Boy, that sounds like it would be a burden to me if you didn't understand that concept that you need to tune some of it out, or even how to tune some of it out. I mean, Jesus, how would you do
Well,
that?
most people just, they have this sort of like, I guess, an egoic response to, oh my God, I got gifts. This is great and wonderful.
Right.
And then they just are using them all the time.
Mm-hmm.
But
Mm-hmm.
it's not the best thing to use them all the time. The best thing is to learn how to master them.
Okay.
And if you're not mastering them, right, then you're kind of a messy, walking, energetic thing that gets whacked by energies left, right, and center,
Mm-hmm.
all of a sudden takes on somebody else's emotions, doesn't know what's happening to them. You can't be messy. You have to be clean and clear and concise in your own life so that you can live a normal life.
Yeah.
This energetic stuff is different, and it's all encompassing sometimes. And if you don't find balance, then you're going to be walking around a big old jumble of mess.
Oh man, I think I've seen it before. I mean, I think they've done movies on people like that, but they may not even realize it that they're having those issues, and they're just always in tune with everything that's going on. Maybe they're having premonitions and they have deja vu happen more than your normal person, and they don't know they don't even know that. It's not that they don't even know that they need to tune it out. They don't even understand that they can, or what the hell what's happening to them. So I think education in this kind of thing would be wonderful. I would like to see Reiki, for instance, someday taught at I mean, you should have to go and get a certificate. I really do think, to get up to a master level, your level even. I mean, how many levels above you would you say there are in general? Are there any?
Not above me, but I would say that there is different types of Reiki.
Okay.
So yeah, there's one. I can't remember exactly what it's called, but it's in Australia, and it's different than the one that's here.
Okay.
So there's one in Australia, and then there's a Holy Fire Reiki that was new and introduced. And so there's different types.
Okay.
I have the Yasui. That's one of the main types that's well noted. So there's different types of Reiki. There's different types of practitioners too. Some practitioners mix other modalities together.
Okay.
So you'll get like a massage therapist that also does Reiki on you when they give you a massage.
Wow.
Or you'll get a shaman that's also a Reiki master.
Okay.
That kind of thing.
Oh, okay. So yeah. Wow. Okay.
Yeah, my Reiki master or teacher was a shaman as well.
Okay. So wow, I see. So that's cool. Oh, okay. And they have various functions. I mean, depending on what your needs would be, that would be, okay. So you might go to the shaman if you had a certain need. You might go to that massage therapist if it was a certain need with Reiki that you needed. I get it. Okay. I think I get it. Yeah. I can't believe I've never delved into it this far before.
Well, and there's different types of Reiki. There's the holy fire is the one that's extremely protective.
Mm-hmm.
So if you're in fear, you can use that one, and you can,
Okay.
not have that fear overtake you anymore. Some people, they have fears over everything.
Mm-hmm.
And then if you're, just in a different place in the world,
Mm-hmm.
there's different Reiki. Like you go to Australia, it's just different.
Right. No, okay. I get you. I'm going to delve more into it. I can't believe I haven't before in the past. I just was one of these guys that thought, I don't know what I thought about it. I mean, I knew there was the different levels, but I didn't realize that it was that varied and that I've heard so many people just throw it around out there, the term, and I don't know, and who am I to know? I don't know what they know, you know what I mean? I've heard people tell me I'm a Reiki master, and it sounds good, but I have personally no way to know that. I mean, I didn't ask for their their diploma or or certificate or anything, Yeah, but I really think that as we move forward in the future, it'd be cool someday if this was taught in a, in an education system. You know what I mean? Whether it's a trade school or whether it's at a Stareseed University. You know, yeah, there's so many great things like that, and there's telekinesis and different forms of meditation and astral travel, and there's so many amazing things that could be taught at like a call it Lightworker University. I mean, yeah, it would be really, really wonderful. It would be great. Well, wow, that's informative. That's really wonderful. I'm glad you came on tonight. Do you have anything more you wanted to discuss, really? Is there anything that's on your mind? Let's see, we touched on the energies. I mean, everything is energy. Would you not agree or no? Yes?
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah,
Sure.
everything is just energy. It's just an energy. And everything, wouldn't you say that to some extent every interaction is just an energy exchange, maybe?
Yeah, to a certain extent, definitely.
Yeah, definitely so. Okay. Okay. All right. Well, yeah, I think that about touches that. I can't wait to get the call going. And yeah, what I was saying is when what I was telling the people out there when you cut out for a second, I was telling people that I was telling them how vital you were in my life and saving my life and the cutting of the cords, and I mean, of course, that was just one sentence in the dictionary of what we went through. But there's a lot of all the time a lot of newly awakened people that are interested in some of these groups that are coming in, and you can bet that most of them are having some issues maybe with family members. And it would be a great source if anybody hears this out there. It would be a great source to, once we get the page up and going, to message in or message on the timeline and let us know. And we can work on the details. Okay, I mean, there are people out there for you. We're all one big community, and most of our stories are about 80% the same as how we came up and everything, and family issues, family. Yeah, wow.
Yeah, there's so many people out there. So many people with so much great knowledge.
Oh, isn't there? And they all it's just amazing, and the different and each one of them, the real, they have their own flavor to put in it. You all might be saying kind of the same thing, but everybody's got their own flavor, and sometimes that flavor, the way they may put it, may resonate with somebody completely, right? Versus I might tell it to them and have to rewrite War and Peace to explain something to them. But that's what you call Pleiadian autism. Yeah, I did a show on that the other night. Yeah, I've got it, people, believe me. Okay, well, so once that page is up, here's where you're going to be able to find it at first, the advertisement for it. Okay, you can go to this YouTube channel, which it used to be Pleiadian Express Productions. It's now the Larry Locken Channel 1. Larry Locken 1 channel. I got that wrong earlier. Larry Locken Channel 1 at Pleiadian Express /YouTube. My other smaller channel is Pleiadian Light Grid Project. Is Larry Locken Channel 2 at Pleiadian Light Grid Project. /YouTube. Sorry, it's getting late, people. It's Rose must be really fading. It's probably, I don't even know what time it is. It's late. Does anybody really know what time it is? Does anybody really care? If so, I can't imagine why. We've all got time enough to cry. Okay, enough of that. Okay, you can also find it. You're going to be able to find it on my timeline, Larry Locken. Okay, you can also find it on one of the pages that I have, like Pleiadian Light Grid Project, like the Pleiadian Express Productions, um, Syrian and Egyptian Pyramid Connection, Blu-ray Soul Guidance. I've got many of them. Arcturian Crystalline Grid Project. Okay, you can find it there. You're going to be able to find it advertised there. You're going to be able to find it in Pleiadian Planet group. Okay, there's going to be plenty of places to find it. So we just got to get it up going, and that won't be long. I mean, literally, that won't be very long at all. And it will be in those places. And that's about it. If you want to find me, you can also find me on Instagram at Rockin' Lockin'. You can find me at TikTok at Rockin' Larry Lockin'. You can find me at Rockin' Lockin' at WhatsApp. You can find me at Snapchat by the same name. You can find me at Pinterest by the same name. Okay, Skype, Larry Lockin'. Let's see, God, I think I got them all. Of course, there's a couple more I need to get, but yeah, I think that's about it. I've covered everything. Also, it'll also be at the page Love for Larry Locken. That's my fan page. And no, I did not create it. I'm the only runner of it now, though. But some nice soul created it for me about 10 years ago. And, you know, what the heck? I'm trying to change the name of it so it doesn't sound like I'm being so, so egotistical by that name. You know, I always feel like I'm in ego when I use that page, you know. Love for Larry Locken, you know, here I am, you know. But you got to love yourself, you know. You do have to love yourself, but... Okay, so it's going to be Rose Knows is the name of the column. Not nose like on your body or your head. It's going to be Knows. Just like the little logo says on this show. Rose Knows. That's what's bottom line. That's what it's going to be called. And we'll make sure that it gets out there. And with that, I want to wish everybody a big cosmic dating game kiss. Mwah. If you're old or older than me, you'll probably remember or know what the hell I'm talking about. If not, you won't. And there it goes, and so it goes. And Rose, it was great to have you on, and I guess that would be a wrap. Now I got to figure out. I was having trouble early closing this out. We'll see. Okay, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Yeah, yes, I want to stop. There you go. Okay, and girl, we're off the air. We are off the air.